Well, hey everybody, welcome to Freedom Valley App Groups, where we apply the message we heard this Sunday at Freedom Valley Church. This Sunday we got to hear from Sam Hepner, a really cool church planter who's starting a church in Gettysburg this coming year. And he talked about raising kids and how to, with health, lead a family.
Yeah, and maybe in your home group today, you're saying, well, I don't have kids. How does this apply to me? And I think Sam talked about that pretty well. It's about leading families. It's about leading yourself so that others want to follow you. And so try to apply these points or these ideas in how can I interact with others in a Christian manner? And I think you'll see it better. The one thing I wanted to touch on is something Sam talked about. It was the fact that children or parents shouldn't exasperate their children.
You got that word right on.
Exasperate. It's not an easy word. And essentially what we're talking about here is it can become easy for a parent to expect too much of a child. We want the best for our kids. We want them to succeed in everything. Both of us have young children, and when I look at my sons and when I look at my daughter, all I can think about is how to help them succeed in life. So whenever they make a mistake or they lie to me, I only saw the good in them before, and I want them to do better. And it can become easy for me to apply a standard on them that they aren't ready to live up to.
Right.
And I think that's what the Bible's talking about here is don't exasperate your child. Don't put too much on them before they're ready. Let them grow at their own pace. This can be really difficult because as adults, we are ahead of children. So we expect them to be accidentally sometimes where we are. And yeah, we know we're not, but there's so many times where I'll see my kid throwing a tantrum and I'm like, this is such a ridiculous thing. This is so simple. Don't you know I want what's best for you? But maybe sometimes I need to let them process those emotions in their own way. And if you don't have kids, this can apply in a lot of ways. I was going to say that because you said how it might apply to someone without kids. And if you don't have kids, or maybe you're out of that stage already, or just before that stage or something, that's how God views you. He's so far ahead of us. He's so beyond anything we have, or every time we're reacting ridiculously to something going on in our lives, he's going, aren't you above this yet? But still, he treats us with grace and with understanding of where we're at versus where he wants us to be. And God viewing us like that can be really relieving for us to know that there's a grace-filled parent in heaven who wants to care for us. So as parents, we should be filled with as much grace as possible, as often as possible. Now that doesn't mean we let them do anything or go wild, but it does mean we understand that growth will be slow and we need to improve always and encourage always, not demean always or point out faults always. There needs to be some love with everything, and that can happen in all relationships.
Yeah, Sam also talked about mutual submission, and it's the idea that no matter who is in charge in a family, and that can vary depending on your point of view of what you believe a family should look like, and Scripture has some important things to say about that, but mutual submission is a key idea in Scripture that in a family, in a relationship, you need to submit to each other mutually. It's not one person high-handing above the other. It's us coming together and saying, we want to work together. Let's make concessions, let's make compromises, and let's move forward as a unit.
Yeah, submission is often, one person submitting to another. In a marital relationship and in a family relationship, there should be a time where I submit to my wife, and maybe a time where my wife submits to me. It's constant submission. It's constant, I view you as higher than me, so I'm gonna go with you on this. And even very rarely, but occasionally there's times where I acquiesce to my child. I give way. Maybe he's just had a rough, long, crazy day, and even though he's only 3 years old and I know better, maybe he just needs the little freak out for a few minutes, and I'll give him that. And in that way, I'm submitting to my child. And then when that freak out is over, we sit down and we talk. There was a moment of submission. I had every right and authority to say, knock it off right now. You don't get to do this, but maybe.
Yeah, that's the right thing. But not maybe the right thing for that moment.
Maybe there was a time he needed that. He needed to process his emotions in the only way he knew how. So we need to be willing to submit in any situation. It doesn't mean we submit in every situation, but we need to be willing to submit often and occasionally.
So before we get off on sermons, because I think this makes both of us want to preach a little bit, is I want to give you guys a chance to talk about it tonight. What are you going to bring from this message into your relationships, into your family? If you're not part of a family currently, you're a single person, maybe you need to think about how does this mean, or what does this mean about how God views you? What does this mean about you and your friendships? How can you incorporate this into your life? Then
I'm thinking, look at situations in the past. Maybe with your children, maybe with your spouse, or maybe with relations where maybe you didn't hold someone in grace or you pushed someone too far. How can you acknowledge that my expectations were too great, and because of that, I became frustrated with someone? So in that idea, have you ever exasperated your children, your spouse, or your family relations?
Or gone the other way and not held a high enough expectation and realized you were failing someone in that way. I think none of us ever strike the perfect balance, but there is a balance that we have to manage.
And I think we're gonna have a great conversation about this tonight.
Hope you guys enjoy that. Have a good night.